Okay. Hi, friends. It's Ishta here, continuing on the 10 topics for 10 days. That's been inspired by Scorpio season and the topic of transformation and all the things that kind of come with it, all the different things and topics and themes that we may bump up against. So, I am speaking from personal experience, personal opinion, and perspective. Um, So I wanted to talk about another topic, which is what is transformation itself? What is spiritual transformation? Because we're not talking about a physical transformation, we're talking about spiritual. And what that means, the difference would be that the source of the transformation is coming from within. It is coming from a place that's deep rooted at the seat of an individual's spirit and soul. Um, so I guess that would be the first thing. And I made some notes, so I'm going to be kind of referring to that because I wanted to be sure I'm hitting all the points. So I wanted to describe this by listing the ingredients that would need to be present for it to be a spiritual transformation. So, ingredient one is the voice of the soul. The voice of the soul moving into the presence, or I'm sorry, the space of consciousness, which means it's moving into the space of knowing something that you're aware of, something that is appearing, something that is speaking to you from a place that is rooted in the divine, in the source, in God, in goddess, however you want to name that. So that's ingredient one. Ingredient two is also shadow visibility. And typically, at least in my experience, shadow is always present. It's always there with us. It's a matter of, are we looking at it and are we aware that that is what it is? Is it shadow? So there are times, like in a spiritual awakening, where the shadow is actually doing a big job within our psyche on so many levels that we go into the depths of darkness, really deep darkness, until we see the light. So, and then the light is that soul voice. So, yes, so the other ingredient is the shadow visibility. Um, and I'll do another video on what shadow is. There's so many things that I've been meaning to do. So, anyway, we're getting there. So the shadow parts, which are unpleasant and sometimes hurtful to the self, um, a lot of times dampening to the soul, dampening to the voice of the soul. Um, but that is still in play in the transformation. It's so important. It has to play a role here. It's not the ignorance of it or the spiritual bypassing, meaning, oh, well, if I just say mantras over and over, then I will be able to ignore and not give power to the shadow. Which, in my opinion and in my practice, in my experience, it just absolutely does no service to true spiritual transformation. So I hope I've made it clear with that. Um, then the third ingredient is the decision to move away from comfort into the uncomfortable or the unknown. So, again, we have the appearance of the soul voice coming into consciousness and awareness, most likely after an engulfing amount of shadow visibility. And the soul voice then appears with an invitation to do something different. And most likely, there is no logic. It is out of the comfort zone. It is something that will make you go towards a path of unknown. You've never done it before. No, most likely people around you have never done it before. I'm not talking about people on social media or people in the world. It is your closest circle typically is not doing what this is asking you to do because it's unique to you and to your shadow. So, yes, then it would be the decision to say, I'm going to follow that voice in spite of the shadow because there's an invitation to do something different. So that's ingredient 3. Ingredient 4. Once you've made the decision, so you made the decision, and I guess ingredient 4 would be the action, the first action towards the new. I guess that would be ingredient 4, is that you actually make a step forward in that direction. Ingredient 5 would then be to integrate your shadow, which means that we're not handing power to the shadow anymore, but we're creating a space for it to be part of dialogue, to be heard, to be seen voluntarily, so that there's a greater understanding of its service. What is it trying to serve me to do? What has it done for me in the past? And does it have a place for me here now? So the integration is really about presence with the shadow from a place that's anchored or supported by the soul and the soul voice, and creating space to really see how that part or those parts have played a role for your safety in the past and how they are not serving for your soul's evolution in the present. So the integration is really about looking at all the aspects of the shadow from a place of distance and space, contemplation of it, embodiment of the emotions that come up around that shadow, and then a separation, right? A space between the you in the present, the possibility of you in the future, and then what it is and it's trying to serve. So then you can really integrate, really take in and embody it as opposed to having it like separate from you and something you want to ignore, as opposed to bringing it in and saying, okay, this is not to be shunned, it's to be seen, so that way we can transmute it. So within the integration, we move to the next step of transmuting, meaning we are, I don't know if dampening is not the best word, um, but we neutralize. That's the better word. We neutralize the power of the shadow after we've done some integration, because now we have a better understanding of the role that it's had in the past and the role that it wants to do in the present, and now asking it to play a different role in the future. Because these shadows don't all go away. They transmute and then they transform. But there's a shedding of that which was connected to your identity. So this is step 6. So this is element 6. Is the shadow, or I'm sorry, this is 7, which is the shedding of the identity that was supported by or perpetuated by the shadow aspects that are being transmuted. And so that begins to fall away as you continue to step towards the soul's calling, the soul's voice, the soul's direction. Sometimes it might just be that one step, and now you're filled with just all kinds of things that are coming forward for you. And it's powerful. It's quite powerful. And you could keep going, but it's important, I find, to be in the full transformation of the spiritual transformation is to be really present step by step, at least for a highly sensitive person. For us, integration is so important. Like It's actually a default setting for us. We need that space. Um, so so there's that aspect, and I think I want to add another is that after the shedding of the identity has occurred, the mask, the pieces that are linked to this old story or this old wound or these shadows, all of this stuff that's coming up, then what arrives is the transformation evidence, the evidence of transformation, which is a new perspective and a new relationship with the old story, with the environment around the individual, the relationship between the individual and what was once fear, like they were afraid of, the things that they were afraid to do, the new relationship between this calling and stepping forward into this new path. Those things, the relationships change. And that is what I would say are all of the things that involve a spiritual transformation. And then it becomes visible on the external. It can appear on how somebody carries themselves, how they speak, how they show up in the world, how they show up with other people in their lives, how they show up for their purpose, their calling, or whatever it is that they're looking to do and step forward towards. So I hope that this has given some light as to what, again, a spiritual transformation is. And we'll see what the next topic will be. So this is topic 2, and I'll see you for topic 3 and forward.